In the history of the NFL, there have been just a handful of players who forever changed the game or a particular position with their play. One example is Michael Vick. Although Vick's career was a roller coaster filled with drama and arguments about his character, nobody can disagree with the statement that he completely transformed the quarterback position in the NFL. While his impact on the game is long-reaching, how good was Michael Vick actually? Vick comes from humble beginnings, as he grew up in Newport News, Virginia. He lived in a public housing project that experienced a lot of violence and crime. In an interview, Michael once said, "Sports keep me off the streets. It kept me from getting into what was going on, the bad stuff. Lots of guys I knew have had bad problems." Luckily for Vick, his father got him into football at a very young age. At the age of just 3, Michael's dad began teaching him the fundamentals of throwing a football. Interestingly, when Vick first went to throw a football, he did it with his left hand, even though he did everything else with his right. As Vick got older, he learned more about the game from his older cousin, Aaron Brooks, who went on to play quarterback at the University of Virginia and later for the New Orleans Saints. It's safe to say that Aaron did a good job of teaching Michael, as Vick became quite the high school football player. As a 3-year starter for Warwick High School, Vick passed for 4,846 yards and 43 touchdowns, while also rushing for 1,048 yards and 18 touchdowns. One time during his senior season, Vick ran for 6 scores and threw for 3 more in the same game. As a result of his dual-threat dominance, Vick had interest from colleges all over the nation, but he narrowed down his choices to Virginia Tech and Syracuse. Vick ended up committing to Virginia Tech because of the school's proximity to his friends and family, a decision that worked out pretty well for Vick and the Hokies. Vick's coming-out party to the nation was delayed some as he redshirted his freshman year, but the following year was certainly one to remember for Vick and his team. In his first collegiate game, Vick scored 3 rushing touchdowns in just over 1 quarter of play, but he injured his ankle flipping into the end zone for that final touchdown. Michael was forced to miss the rest of that game and the entire next one. It was smooth sailing from then on out for Vick and the Hokies, as he led them to an 11-0 record and a spot in this year's BCS National Championship game. Although Virginia Tech lost to Florida State in that game, Vick became one of the most talked about players in recent college football memory. During that 1999 campaign, Vick amassed 2,065 passing yards, 682 rushing yards, and 22 total touchdowns, 13 through the air and 9 on the ground. His 180.4 passing efficiency that season set a freshman NCAA record and was the 3rd highest of all time. Vick won an ESPY award as the nation's top college player and won the first ever Archie Griffin Award as college football's most valuable player. Additionally, he finished 3rd in the Heisman Trophy voting that year, which tied for the highest finish ever by a freshman. Vick's redshirt sophomore season was pretty impressive, but the insane one the year before just set an almost unreachable bar of expectations. A sprained ankle made him miss almost 3 full games, but Vick threw for 1,234 yards and 8 touchdowns, while adding 617 rushing yards and 8 more touchdowns on the ground. It was considered by some to be a down year for Michael Vick, but he still was 6th in the Heisman Trophy voting. Having already proven he was one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in college football history, Vick decided to forego the rest of his collegiate eligibility to declare for the NFL Draft. At the NFL Combine, Vick's athletic excellence was further put on display as his 40-yard dash time was 4.33 seconds, which set a record back then for fastest ever by a quarterback. It also was tied for 2nd fastest among all prospects in that combine, behind Santana Moss, who ran a 4.3140. Even though Vick had only 2 years of college football under his belt, his video game stats and freakish athleticism led him to being taken with the 1st overall pick by the Atlanta Falcons in the 2001 NFL Draft. That actually was not the first time Vick was drafted by a professional sports team. Despite the fact that Vick had not played baseball since the 8th grade, the Colorado Rockies selected him in the 30th round of the 2000 MLB Draft. Just another testament to how he was widely viewed as a once-in-a-generation type of athlete. With that being said, the start to Vick's NFL career was not quite as exciting as his college one. As a rookie, he appeared in just 8 games for the Falcons and only started 2 of them. Vick's next season provided much more of what people expected from him coming out of Virginia Tech. In his second season, Vick threw for 2,936 yards, rushed for 777, and had 24 combined touchdowns, 16 passing and 8 rushing. He set an NFL record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in a single game when he ran for 173 against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 13. Michael Vick led the Falcons to their first postseason appearance since 1998 and was named to the Pro Bowl that year. A fractured fibula suffered by Vick in a preseason game before the 2003 season caused him to miss the first 11 games of the year. While that was a season to forget for Vick, the next 3 would be much more memorable. In 2004, Vick threw for 2,313 yards, rushed for 902, and scored 17 total touchdowns, with 14 passing ones. Against the Denver Broncos in Week 8, Vick became the first quarterback in the NFL to throw for more than 250 yards and rush for over 100 yards in the same game. He set another NFL record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in a playoff game when he ran for 119 in a 47-17 divisional round victory over the St. Louis Rams. His single-season rushing total that year was the 3rd highest by a quarterback in league history, and Vick was named to his 2nd Pro Bowl. After making it to his 2nd consecutive Pro Bowl and his 3rd total one the next year, Vick broke another NFL record in 2006 as he became the first quarterback to ever rush for over 1,000 yards in a single season. Following piecing together a handful of impressive seasons, shattering numerous records, and potentially becoming the next face of the league, Vick missed the 2007-2008 seasons because he pleaded guilty to charges of dogfighting. Many people thought Vick's career was over after his public fall from grace, but the Philadelphia Eagles gave the quarterback another chance as he signed a 2-year contract with the Eagles prior to the 2009 season. Only the first year was guaranteed though, as the contract contained a team option for the second. Vick spent his first year in Philly serving primarily as Donovan McNabb's backup and only threw 13 total passes over the entire season. McNabb was traded the next year, and Vick entered the season as the backup behind Kevin Kolb. Kolb suffered a concussion early in the season. Based on Vick's performance as his replacement, the Eagles named him the starter moving forward. It was a long road, but Michael Vick was finally an NFL starting quarterback again, and he made the most of his second chance. Playing in just 12 games during the 2010 season, Vick managed to throw for over 3,000 yards and 21 touchdowns, while rushing for 676 yards and adding 9 touchdowns on the ground. He led his team to the playoffs and earned another Pro Bowl nomination in the process. Vick was also named NFL Comeback Player of the Year that season. Over the next 2 seasons, Vick started 25 games for Philly and threw for 5,665 yards, 30 touchdowns, and rushed for nearly 1,000 yards. In what ended up being his final season in an Eagles uniform, Vick lost the starting job to Nick Foles halfway through the 2013 season. After that, Vick spent his final 2 years in the NFL mainly as a backup for the New York Jets and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. In 2016, Vick announced that he would play 1 more season in the NFL, but after spending that entire year not on a roster, he officially retired from the league in February of 2017. Football officially said goodbye to one of the most dynamic players of all time. With over 6,000 rushing yards, Vick still holds the NFL record for the most career rushing yards by a quarterback. While his off-the-field issues will always affect some people's perception of him, there is no debating that Michael Vick forever transformed football and the quarterback position. So, there you have it, the awesome career of Michael Vick. What was your favorite Michael Vick moment? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. As always, you're watching Non-Stop Sports. We'll catch you next time.